What is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today, we are back with preseason power rankings here. It's been a minute since we've done a power rankings video, obviously, because of last year. But yeah, let's get into this, guys. Let's get into my top 32 teams here in the NFL. And starting out here with the bottom team, it's no surprise. I think it's evident throughout the NFL that 32 is the Arizona Cardinals. Just a lot of question marks. You know, who's going to be their quarterback? Whoever is, I'm not expecting much out of, because especially they cut Colt McCoy. I honestly don't even know who the competition is between right now. The defense still very young. They had a good draft. I say Paris Johnson Jr. really good pick. They picked some good defenders there, but still a very young defense. They need a lot of work to do there. It's just. Yeah, Arizona, this is a tank year for them. Kyler Murray obviously injured. This offense, not good. Is Budda Baker still there? I think he is, but he's not going to make too much of an impact. The Cardinals, in my opinion, are the clear worst team in the league. 31, we have the Los Angeles Rams, and this might surprise some people, but I'm having the Rams here. I'm going to put the Rams here because of this thing. You know, people look at Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford's getting up there in age. Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp's a really good receiver. Aaron Donald, maybe the best defender to ever play the game. I mean, Aaron Donald's been a really good player for the Rams. But what else do you look at that roster? This defense, horrible. The depth on this team is horrible. One of those guys goes down, it's bad. The offensive line, really bad. It's really just Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford trying to hold that offense together, and Sean McVay being a very well-coached team. But how far can that take you? This roster is not good at all. I am not a believer in this Rams team. That's my case for the Rams being the 31st best team in the league. They're just not a good team. Moving on, we have the 30th team here, the Houston Texans. It's close. I really did like the D'Amico Ryans hire for Houston. C.J. Stroud, I think, is going to be a good building block here in Houston. I think that they've been doing some good things in the offseason. I think they had a good draft. Will Anderson, obviously, I didn't like the trade. You know, they give up their first-round pick this year. That's not great. This could be a top 3 pick next season, but I like what Houston's building here. It's still, they're very young. They got a lot of work to do. They got a lot to prove. But that they have potential, I think. Last year we saw them be competitive a little bit at the end of the year. So I think the Texans can be a decent team. Obviously, you're wishing you had Bryce Young coming into the year, but C.J. Stroud is going to be just fine, I think. Moving on, number 29 here, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And really, the Buccaneers, not a good football team. Baker Mayfield, I just don't really know about him. You know, is he going to be the Baker Mayfield? Maybe has a breakout season. He played decent with the Rams, but he had his up and downs for sure. Played horrible with the Carolina Panthers. Yeah, the Bucs do have enough talent, though, on that defense side of the ball for them to warrant being above these other 3 teams. But it's not the best, well-coached team like they were in the Brady days before. It's his slipping in mind, but the coach left. So, yeah, the Buccaneers, solid team. Don't get me wrong, but I don't see them being I think they have talent, but I think that they're not a great football team. All right, 28, we have the Washington Commanders. And the Commanders are a team that I could very well see breaking out this season. It's really about Sam Howell, though. Sam Howell is a quarterback that we have no idea about right now. Is he going to be good? I'm not entirely sure about Sam Howell. This defense, though, for Washington, it's pretty good. Can Chase Young have a good year? He got injured. He's been injury-prone. He's been a little bit up and down, but people forget how good Chase Young was in his rookie year and how good of a prospect he was coming out of Ohio State. If they can get that Chase Young, man, that's going to be a good defense. They got some pretty good cornerbacks. I liked their draft pick. Forgot his name, but they picked that cornerback. He's going to be a good fit in their system. Yeah, I mean, the Commanders, the offense, they got Scary Terry. They still have a good run game there. Offensive line a little bit questionable, but it's really lies on Sam Howell. This is kind of a mid coaching team as well. But yeah, if Sam Howell can break out this season, if he can be a good prospect, he has a chip on his shoulder. He slid a lot in that draft, farther than I think he should have. So we're gonna see what happens. The Commanders, I think, coming at 28. They have a lot to prove though. That's why they're this far down. Moving on to number 27, though, we have the Indianapolis Colts, a very similar team here. Anthony Richardson, I just don't know about him. In his first year at least, he is probably one of the most athletic quarterbacks coming out of college. He is a freak of nature, man. He's crazy. But he obviously had his growing pains at Florida. Just wasn't the best decision maker. Kind of had some trouble with accuracy. But if he can get those cleared up, man, he can be one of the best quarterbacks in the league, even the best. He could beat out Patrick Mahomes with that. He has really high potential. Am I saying he's going to be better than Patrick Mahomes? No, I'm saying that he could be, but that's a stretch. But anyway, you look at the Colts. Jonathan Taylor's going to be out. That's going to bring this team down a bit. And honestly, I think I'm going to switch these actually. No, I'm going to keep it. All right. But because the defense for Indianapolis, I think, has some potential. I think they're a better, well-coached team than the Commanders. And they got some decent weapons. Their offensive line was horrible last season. They need to clean that up this year. But yeah, the Indianapolis Colts, Anthony Richardson, even if he isn't a good throwing quarterback to start it, he can definitely use his legs. I'm sure of that. So that's when the Colts are going to come in at 27. Moving on here to 26, we have the Las Vegas Raiders. Here we go into the decent tier here. And this is when this becomes interesting because the Las Vegas Raiders, what is going on with Jimmy Garoppolo? I know he got injured. I'm not entirely sure what's going on there. Is he coming in? I don't even know. But the Raiders, the reason why they're coming in the decent tier, I think, is they have some good talent on the defense. Tyree Wilson and Crosby, those two edge rushers, that could be a very, very good duo. One of the best in the league. That is going to be good if Tyree Wilson could break loose. They obviously have a lot of concerns at cornerback, though. The defense is not quite ready. You look at the offense, they obviously have Devontae Adams. That is a huge, huge asset there. And if Jimmy Garoppolo can be a decent quarterback, and obviously Josh Jacobs as well, this is still a pretty explosive offense. We just need to see Jimmy Garoppolo do something good. So I'm confident that the Raiders are going to be can be a decent team. I think that they can be a scary team. But I do think that they come in at 26, though. And then moving on to 25, we're going to have the Chicago Bears. I'm not as high on the Bears as a lot of people are here. You look at Justin Fields. I'm still not sold on Justin Fields here yet. He is still a dynamic quarterback. He can run. He is a very good runner, but I still think he still has some work to do on the throwing. Could he be a Jalen Hurts type where he can develop that? Yeah, for sure. But I need to see it because I'm not quite ready on that for Justin Fields. But other than that, the Bears improved their team really well, improved the offensive line. They got DJ Moore. Their receivers, they're going to have more weapons for Justin Fields. The defense very well got improved with all that salary cap. So this is really Justin Fields' year to break loose. And that's really going to be the deciding factor for me for this team to come up. It's still a very young team as well. I think that has to be considered. I do like the coaching that they got there, but the Bears still have some things to prove before they can get above this decent tier into the hunt tier. And that's why I'm going to put them at 25. All right, so now this is where this gets a little bit weird. We have 24, the Atlanta Falcons, and they're going to be in the hunt because of this weak NFC South. You look at Atlanta here, and Atlanta, I like this team. Desmond Ridder, Bijan Robinson's going to be a very, very good player. I think he could arguably be the best running back this season. He was phenomenal out of Texas, like unbelievable talent. And then they got really good weapons. Drake London, Kyle Pitts. This offensive line is underrated for the Atlanta Falcons. And then the defense still very young, but they're improving. They improved last year as the year went on, and I think it's going to be the same. And then the most important thing I think here is that they are a really good coach football team, like one of the better ones in the league. This team is very well coached. The coach is slipping my mind, but my oh my, he coaches the offense well, and it's an underrated coaching here in Atlanta. But yeah, I mean, also another team where it really lies on Desmond Ridder. I mean, that's gonna. If this team wasn't in the NFC South, it's gonna be with the Bears. It's gonna be at the Raiders and the Colts and the Commanders. That this team needs to prove that they have Desmond. Desmond Ridder's obviously the big question. He did not play well to start at the year. Got a little bit better. Let's see how we can look in Week 1 this week. For me to fully jump on the Falcons train, because this team's still a good football team, and they're going to be in the hunt. 23, though, we're going to have the New Orleans Saints here, and that's going to surprise some people. I am a lot lower on the Saints than a lot of people are. If you look at New Orleans, I'm just not a big fan of this team. This defense getting up there in age. It's still a good defense, but I think they're going to be prone to injuries, and that's going to be evident. Not a well-coached team at all. I think that has to be taken into consideration. I don't like what they're doing on the coaching side. And then if you look at offense, they have some weapons. Chris Olave, Michael Thomas, but can he stay healthy? Alvin Kamara's out for a few weeks. And then you have Derek Carr, who's on the downward trajectory of his career and sneakily had a bad season last year. So I'm not a fan of this Saints team. I think they're way, way overhyped. I think they're not great. I think that they're just a mediocre team, very similar to the Falcons, except for the Falcons are a trending upwards team. This team's been pushing off a rebuild for far too long. I think that they need a rebuild. And it's clear, man. This team's pushed it off for too long. They've had a lot of heartbreaks in the playoffs. You got to move on at some point. You can't keep riding the same train. All right, and then number 22 is my top NFC South team. We're going to have our first playoff team. We have the Carolina Panthers making the playoffs, I think, this season. In my predictions, it didn't work out that way. These two tied for all records. The Saints made it, but I do think the Panthers are the better team of these three. Bryce Young, I'm confident that Bryce Young is going to be a really good quarterback in the league. I know a lot of people were overreacting to his preseason performances, but Bryce Young, man, what a prospect coming out. He's going to be really good. The offense, really concerning, though. The O-line's not great. They don't really have too many weapons for Bryce Young, but they do have a good running back in Miles Sanders. Hopefully they can get the run game going. But really where this team's exciting is their defense. It's a very, very solid defense there in Carolina. You love to see it, and I think that's going to help out Bryce Young and keep the score low. All right, and then moving on here to 21, we're going to have the New England Patriots, the final team of this in the hunt tier. And am I saying that a Bill Belichick-led team's not going to make – in the decent tier. My bad. Am I saying that a Bill Belichick-led football team's not going to be in the hunt for the playoffs? I'm kind of saying that, actually, yeah. I think that they can be, for sure, at the end of the year. This is a team that I think could climb up, but I'm not going to bet on it right now. This team has a lot of questions. Mac Jones, is he the guy? The defense is a very solid defense, but in this AFC, man, that is the big concern here. This AFC is very, 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 very good. The weapons for this Patriots team is not great. The O-line's pretty darn solid, but it's a concern there for sure. And I think that the Patriots, I think that they're just going to be an average football team this season. And that's when they come in at 21 in the decent tier. All right, so we're done with the decent tier, a small tier there. But now let's move on to the 20th team here. We have the Green Bay Packers in the hunt. I think in this NFC, the Packers for sure can make the playoffs. Jordan Love. Is Jordan Love going to be the guy? I think he can be. I think he can for sure be. He's been playing very well in the preseason. I've really liked what I've saw from Jordan Love. I think that this Packers defense as well, very good unit. The weapons for this Packers receivers they got 1 year under the belt. They can keep making progress here. And Yeah, I think that the Packers, underrated football team this season. This team, if they can break loose with Jordan Love again, well-coached football team, they can make the playoffs again. It really just depends on the defense, though. I don't think they're well-coached on that side of the ball. They really need to be better this season on that side because they got a lot of talent. Moving on to 19, we're going to have the Tennessee Titans. And the Titans are a similar team to the Patriots here, though. But I think that since they're in the AFC South, it's a little bit more open. I could see a world where Ryan Tannehill and the Titans beat the Jaguars for the division. But yeah, Derrick Henry, of course, for this Titans, he automatically brings this team up. Ryan Tannehill is still a decent quarterback. He can still win you football games. And then bringing in DeAndre Hopkins really, I think, puts this team in the hunt for me. This team's been underrated all off season. They've been slept on. It's one of arguably the best coached team in the league, maybe one of the best. This team's very, very well coached. I think people are forgetting about that. The defense is still very solid. This team's going to be in a lot of football games. They're going to be competing with everyone. So that's why I really like the Titans at 19. All right, 18, we have the Minnesota Vikings. A little bit low here for the Vikings, but we just don't know how the Brian Flores defense is going to work out this season. I think that's going to be a big, big-time factor in the Vikings season because last season, let's just be honest, they're not going to get away with winning one-score games every single time. They got a little bit lucky in that regard. But Minnesota, if they can develop these defenders, and if the Brian Flores can work, it can be a good team because obviously their offense was very good last season with Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson. Letting go of Dalvin Cook's going to set them back, but Alexander Madison's a pretty darn good running back there, and the O-line's pretty darn good as well. So the Vikings, it really lies on the defense for this team to be better, but they're going to come in at 18 in my opinion. Moving on to number 17, we're going to have the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the Steelers, I like this team a lot. It's unfortunate that they're in a very, very good division and conference here. But this Steelers team, man, they have a lot of potential. Kenny Pickett, sorry, that voice crack there. But anyway, Kenny Pickett, very, very solid quarterback. I think he's going to take some steps this season, and he's going to be a good player for Pittsburgh. And they have a lot of weapons. Deontay Johnson, George Pickens, the O-line improved this season. That's going to help out Najee Harris in the run game as well. And then obviously that defense is going to do some things. So the Steelers, they could be a very solid football team. And don't forget about Mike Tomlin, arguably the best coach in the game. And he's going to help this team. This team's going to at least be 8-9 this year, in my opinion. Maybe even a better team. It's a very tough AFC, though, like I said. So it's going to be tough for Pittsburgh, but they're going to come in at 17. All right, number 16 here, we're going to have the New York Giants, and they're going to be in the playoffs tier, the first wild card team from the NFC here. You look at New York, Brian Dable coming in, what a coach. He really fixed this program. I mean, yeah, this team last year and their culture. Yeah, you obviously look at this defense. They improved on that side of the ball. Adding Darren Waller is going to really help this receivers. I don't really think that they did. I think that they did enough for the receivers to help Daniel Jones and have some weapons there. This team's just going to build off last season. It's going to be a very similar team to last year, though. And I think in a weak NFC, they should be just fine. But they do have a little bit of a difficult schedule in the NFC East, though. All right, moving on to number 15, we're going to have the Cleveland Browns. And the Browns are a very wild card team. This team could be sliding all the way down, or this team could go up with Deshaun Watson. It really lies on Deshaun Watson's shoulder. Can Deshaun Watson be the Deshaun Watson we saw with the Houston Texans? That is a huge factor. If he can, this team could absolutely be a contender because they got the weapons, they got the O-line, they got the running back, and they got the defense. They brought in, they had a really good free agency, a sneaky good free agency for Cleveland. So at this point, it really lies on Cleveland. If it doesn't go well, I think we could see a blow up here in Cleveland because the cap hit after this year for Deshaun Watson goes bad. I think that we could see Deshaun Watson gone. I think we could see this entire coaching staff gone. Moving on here to number 14, winning the NFC North, we're going to have the Detroit Lions. I think this team's getting overhyped a little bit too much here for Detroit. There is still some concerns there. Jared Goff, I do think he's going to be a good quarterback for you guys this season. Don't get me wrong. But the defense is still very young. I think that there still needs to be some things there. I think that they had a horrible draft. Jahmyr Gibbs, he's going to be a good running back, but you have David Montgomery there. Why do you need to pick Jahmyr Gibbs with the 11th pick or whoever you picked him with? It's just not smart, I think. And then Jack Campbell in the first round. He's going to be a decent linebacker, but again, history's proven that you just don't take linebackers that early. So I did not like the Lions draft at all, but the offense still very good. Jared Goff with Amon-Ra St. Brown. That O-line is one of the best in the league. This team's going to be a very good offense. Again, the defense has its questions for sure, but I do think that they're going to take some steps this season. And in the weak NFC North, I think they should come up with it, but I don't think that the Vikings and the Packers are too far off from what people are saying against the Lions here. I think we could see one of those two win the division. I think they got a good chance as well. All right, so moving on here to number 13, we're going to have the Jacksonville Jaguars. And Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars, bringing in Calvin Ridley is going to really help out this offense, man. I think that this Trevor Lawrence has a lot of weapons to choose from here for Jacksonville. And then the defense improving, obviously. They had a good season last year, and I think that they're just going to have a better year this season. They're a young unit there, and they brought in some good players. And then the O-line still has its concerns, but Trevor Lawrence, I think it really lies on his shoulders. Is he going to take his steps this season? I think he is. He's one of the best quarterback prospects coming out. And a lot of people have liked what he's seen out of the preseason and the training camp. So I think that's going to be a big factor there for Trevor Lawrence, and I think that the Jaguars are going to be a very good football team. All right, and then moving on here to number 12, we're going to have the Los Angeles Chargers. And they're not in the playoffs here for me because of this very good AFC. You look at the Chargers here, and this is a team that, it's Justin Herbert. It's a very similar team, I think, to this Jaguars team. They got Austin Eckler. They got some good weapons for Justin Herbert, but the defense, not great. Not a well-coached team, I think. That's going to hold them back. It's really Justin Herbert. It's Justin Herbert that's leading this team to victories, and is that enough to make the playoffs? I don't think so. And that's why the Chargers are going to come in here at 12. In this AFC, in the NFC for sure, they're making the playoffs, but in this AFC, that's what I'm saying. Can they make it? For sure. They made it last year, of course. I think they definitely can again. But I think that they're going to have a setback this season. All right, moving on. A hot take from me. Number 11, we're going to have the Denver Broncos. And bringing in Sean Payton, I think, is going to be huge for this offense. Obviously, Tim Patrick and Jerry Jeudy getting injured is some setbacks, but they still have Cortland Sutton. So I think this Broncos team is going to be just fine. I think we're going to see some growing pains to start out the year from Russell Wilson and this system, because obviously the O-line has its concerns, but I think that Russell Wilson's going to return. This is his bounce-back year, I think. Now, I'm not putting him too high because of that, because of what we saw last year. You can't put him into this playoffs year, I think, quite yet. But Sean Payton's going to be a very good coach. I don't think you could have asked for a better fit. And then people are forgetting, man, this defense kept the Broncos in about every game last season. It is a top defense, and they're going to be coming this season. It's going to be tough for a lot of teams to beat Denver Broncos. This is not a team you want to play. And if Russell Wilson plays like he did in Seattle, man, or at least a fraction of himself in Seattle, man, this Broncos team is going to be very, very good. And I think that a lot of people are sleeping on them this year. So I'm going to have them at number 11. All right, moving on to number 10, we're going to have the New York Jets. And it's tight between these Jets teams and the Broncos. It really comes down to two things for me, though, is who had the better year last year, Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson. I think Aaron Rodgers did. Obviously, he was at his home, but that I think is a factor, and the weapons for the Jets at this point in time is better. It's a very similar team, though. The Jets have a very good defense as well. Very similar strengths for these two, but I think the Jets are just slightly better right now. But could we see an Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson last season? We could definitely see that, but I'm going to give this one slightly to the Jets. Just take everything I said about the Broncos. Nathaniel Hackett's obviously concerned. Can he? He did it with Aaron Rodgers, though, so it should be fine, but that's where I'm going to have the Jets at number 10. All right, and then number 9, we're going to have the Seattle Seahawks. Geno Smith and the Seahawks coming in here. I was very tempted to put this team in the contenders tier. I'm not going to do it quite yet because as a Seahawks fan, we have really good weapons here, but Jackson Smith-Njigba looking like he's going to miss week 1. But DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, that's all the weapons you need right there. They are unbelievable talents. The O-line, very young. It has its questions, but I do think that the O-line, if these players can break loose, they can be a very good O-line. You look at Charles Cross and Abraham Lucas. I think both those players are going to break out this season at left tackle and right tackle. So you look at the Seahawks. It's a very solid roster here. And the defense for the Seahawks, really good cornerbacks, really good secondary. Jamal Adams is coming back, although he is going to miss week 1, it looks like. But, if Jamal Adams can be like what we saw him in 2020, this is going to be a very good team. The one setback I have is the pass rush and the run defense. Bringing it back, Bobby Wagner is going to really help that run defense right there. But we don't really have a big bruising defensive tackle that can get up there and stop the run. The pass rush still has its concerns for sure. We need one of these guys in Taylor, Mafe, or Derek Carr to really be stepping up this season. So we're going to see what happens there. That's going to hold Seattle back. And obviously Geno Smith, I'm personally believing him a lot. I think he's going to bounce back I think he's going to have a really good season this year as well. So that's where I'm going to have Seattle. And I think that the Seahawks have a lot of potential to be a contender this year. Moving on here to number 8, we're going to have the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens coming in here. You obviously have Lamar Jackson. And drafting Zay Flowers, I think, was a good pick for the Ravens. One of the best offensive lines in the league, and obviously a really well-coached team with Jim Harbaugh. And can't forget to say Pete Carroll, one of the best coaches in the league for Seattle as well. But anyway, and then obviously you look at this Ravens defense. It's a top defense. They're going to keep them in about every game, one of the best in the leagues, and that's why you got to love the Ravens, man. It's a simple team. Is this team a contender, though? It's at the very top of playoffs. I'm not entirely sure at this point if this team's a contender because I do think we don't know what we're going to see from OBJ. You got a young receiver in Zay Flowers. The weapons are very concerning there, but it's a team that you can legitimately see a team like this winning the Super Bowl. But at this point in time, I'm not going to put them in the contender tier. All right, so now we're going to get to the contender now. Top 7 teams in the league. And number 7, maybe a little bit of surprise to some of you guys, but I'm going to have the Miami Dolphins in the contender tier here. I like this Dolphins team, man. Tua Tagovailoa, I think he's going to be a very, very good player this year. I think he's going to come back. Can he stay healthy? I'm not sure, but what we saw from last year from Tua, Mike McDaniels really unlocked him. He was a very, very solid quarterback. And then obviously you look at the receivers, the weapons, Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, one of the best duos in the league, arguably the best. The Dolphins, very good. Their defense, they brought in Jalen Ramsey. This is going to be a very, very good defense this season. It's going to be a good pass rush. The O-line, it is a decent one. And obviously, Josh McDaniels really good. This is one of the fastest teams in the league. They're going to have that going, probably the fastest team in the entire NFL. And as long as Tua can stay healthy, I really like the Dolphins as a top contender because they got the pieces to do it, I think. They got the pieces to win the championship. Moving on to number 6, though, we're going to have the San Francisco 49ers. And some question marks on this team. Brock Purdy going to be starting. Will we see the same kind of Brock Purdy that we did last year? Maybe. Is his injury going to hold him back? Maybe. I don't know. It's a question at the quarterback position there for the Niners. They obviously have Sam Darnold, who I think could be a decent quarterback for them if they have to bring him in. But the 49ers, I think, are a tad bit overrated here. They got a lot of weapons, man. Deebo Samuel, George Kittle. At this point, they got to hope that they break loose at this point, that they win a Super Bowl because they can't keep holding on to these guys forever. This defense is arguably the best in the league. They have really good players, especially on the front 7. The defensive backs is what concerns me a little bit for this defense, but it's still manageable down there. So the 49ers should be a good team, even if Brock Purdy's struggling. But I think he might struggle to start this season. But we're going to see. We're going to see what happens with that. All right, moving on to the top 5 here. We have the Buffalo Bills. And then Buffalo, I think this team, we could see some setbacks this year from Buffalo. I don't think they're going to be as good of a team as we've seen the past couple of years. But obviously, Josh Allen, unbelievable quarterback. It's really just the turnovers that he needs to set back on. But he is one of the most athletic quarterbacks I've ever seen. And then you look at the defense for Buffalo. I like this defense. I think this defense, it's really a concern, though, with Von Miller, though. It looks like he might be an injury right now. But other than that, you look at their defensive backs. It's a very good unit down there. Getting a little bit older down there, but still very good unit. And then obviously the weapons for the Buffalo Bills and the O-line's very good. So this Buffalo Bills team, definitely don't sleep on them. But I don't think that they're like the number 1 team I was talking about like last year. I think that they're going to have their setbacks this season. All right, and then number 4, we're going to have the Dallas Cowboys. Am I hyping up the Cowboys too much? Maybe I am. I think a lot of people are really putting down the Cowboys as they do every year. Cowboys fans, is this your year? It might be, honestly, because this is a very good team. I think besides the 49ers defense, the Cowboys might have the best defense in the league. You look at Micah Parsons, man. He is a phenomenal edge rusher. I really did like the Mozzie Smith pick. That's going to really help their interior defensive line. The defensive backs, very similar to the Niners. They're not the best, but I do think they're better than the Niners, and I think they'll do. The linebackers are good. It's a very good defense, man. That defensive line is very, very good. And yeah, I mean, I think that the Cowboys are going to be a top team this year. And then you look at the offense; they have a lot of weapons. I think this is what stands them apart. Over the Niners, I think, is they got CeeDee Lamb. They got Michael Gallup coming back here. They got one of the best offensive lines in the entire league, a better one than the Niners, which is going to help them get above them. And then I think Dak Prescott's obviously a better quarterback than Brock Purdy. And can Dak Prescott lead this team to the promised land? I'm not sure if he can, but he has the potential to do it. And the Cowboys have a very good roster. This should be a very good team, and I'm going to bet on them to be the number 4th team in the NFL. All right, so now we're going to get to this top 3 here. Number 3, we have the Kansas City Chiefs, the defending Super Bowl champions. A lot of people are saying, wait, why don't you have the Chiefs at number 1? Well, give me a minute. Patrick Mahomes, he obviously puts this team as a contender every year. No matter what their team is, this team's going to be a contender as long as they have Patrick Mahomes healthy and in his prime. Travis Kelce, the best tight end in the league by far, maybe the best to ever do it. And you look at these weapons, as long as you got Patrick Mahomes, it'll do, and the O-line's pretty darn good as well. The defense, it's always been just an average unit, but they've gone better over the years. Their pass rush with Chris Jones is pretty good. Linebackers, pretty good. Defensive backs, pretty good. That's literally what the Chiefs are, is just an average defense. But like I said, it's literally all Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, Travis Kelce. And that's enough to make this team the number 3 best team in the league. And that was enough last year for them to win the Super Bowl. Moving on to number 2, though, and this is I'm going to have the Bengals above them because I think that they have better weapons than the Chiefs. Their offensive line improved. The Chiefs, I do think, have a better O-line, but their offensive line improved. Joe Burrow, I think, is not as good of a quarterback as Patrick Mahomes, but I do think he's up there. He's a good quarterback. He's probably it's close between Josh Allen and Joe Burrow, but I think with Josh Allen turning over the football a lot, I think I'd have to go with Joe Burrow. And then the defense, I think, for the Bengals is a lot better than Kansas City. So I think that's what the factors that come in. Obviously, it's very tough to beat out Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is on a tier of his own at quarterbacks right now. But, yeah, I think that Joe Burrow is enough to be the number 2 team. I mean, this Bengals defense and these weapons, Jamar Chase is going to be healthy this season, hopefully all year. But, yeah, this Bengals team, man, do not sleep on the Bengals. They're going to be a very, very good team this season. It's close between 2 through 3 here, I think. I think I'm pretty confident, though, that number 1's the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm sorry, I said that besides the Niners defense, the Cowboys defense was the best. But I think the Eagles defense is the best in the entire NFL. I think this is the most complete roster in the league. I know they just lost the Super Bowl just barely, but Jalen Hurts, if he can repeat what he did last season, this team's going to be very, very good. Nick Sirianni, a very, very good coach. They lost their running back, but I think DeAndre Swift behind that in probably the best offensive line in the NFL. They're going to be just fine with DeAndre Swift back there. I'm not the biggest DeAndre Swift guy, but they'll be fine at the running back position, I think. Losing Miles Sanders hurts, but it is what it is. You look at the receivers, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, man, it's a very good duo there. And then obviously, like I said, the defense is probably the best in the league. So that's going to give the Eagles the number 1 spot in my power rankings as we start out the season. All right. Anyway, guys, thank you all for watching this video today. Hopefully, you all enjoyed the content. Comment down below your thoughts on this video today. And anyway, peace out.